What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
How are you this fine evening?
Doing all right. I'm trying a new look for the show. Glasses on top of head.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's festive.
Mostly because every time I come into Jarrett's house and I take my sunglasses off and I come inside, I set them down on something instead of putting them in my bag. And then I forget them. And then Sam yells at me for forgetting them.
I almost actually, it's funny, I actually almost was thinking, man, I might have to be wearing some shades on the podcast tonight too. Not because of anything quite like that, but because I had one of those tension headaches. That's the ones that right behind your eyes, and it was where it's a little sensitive to light. And I went, no, these aren't super bright, but they they're a little light. Yeah. And I was kind of thinking, man, that I might be having to do it, but fortunately it went away a little bit earlier this afternoon.
You want to wear mine? They're cool kid
no,
glasses.
I'm all right for now.
I made these as an all-women's camping trip sponsored by REI.
Hell yeah.
That's why they're mismatched. One side's white and the other side, was green. Is it peeling off? No, it's green.
No, it's still green.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a little bit of peeling there.
Well,
on the
yeah,
end,
it's kind of peeling.
I see what
Damn,
you're talking
it might
about
be
there.
time for some new glasses.
Oh,
but
wow.
I don't want new glasses. I like these glasses. I made them. They're attached to memories.
It's an important date. It's just marking an important special time. But another important special time that you get to mark here this week is another new episode of Team Chat Podcast, which comes out on Thursdays, and you can listen to those on podcast services around the World Wide Web, such as Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and lots of other places out there on the web, as well as YouTube, where you can watch a video version of each episode. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and our Discord server. And if you want to help make the show bigger and better, you can head over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, just like a lot of cool people like Super Saiyan Ace, Erica L, Elise F, Zach S, Susan M, James K, Michael B, Andrew M, Michael S, and Brandon W have done. They've headed over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, giving us $1, or little as $1 a month. And in return, we give them cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general Thursday release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery. So check that out if you can. And if you can't do that, that's no big deal at all. Tons of great ways to support the show for free, such as telling your friends, writing us a review, subscribing wherever you're listening to or watching the podcast.
Comments.
Yeah, give us those comments and all that stuff. All that
we
stuff
love
is good.
them.
So, to each and every one of our viewers, patrons, listeners alike, thank you. Heart emojis. We love you
Smooches,
all.
XOXO.
Well, before we get into the main topic of the day, I got to go let Fender out. So entertain the people. He's back here pacing us. Hear his little clickety clacks.
I told Jarrett right before we started. I was pushing back my chair. I was like, I'll go let him out. And
I thought he was going to settle.
It's going to be fine.
I thought he was going to settle. But
well,
he's
you
right
go
here,
and I'll
he's
entertain the people.
Papa, let me out.
I'll tell them
I'll be
all
right
about
back.
the Dr. Pepper Museum.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So if you're not familiar, Dr. Pepper is from Texas. Now, Sam chastised me when I told her that I was going to the Dr. Pepper Museum in Waco, Texas, because apparently that's not the real one. The one in Dublin, Texas is, but that sounds stupid. And who in their right mind would go to Dublin, Texas? Arguably the wrong Texas. So instead, like a normal person, I went to Waco, Texas. Predominantly known for that one time with that cult and all those people died. And it made a bunch of documentaries and the news. This was back in the 90s or the 80s. So it's been a while. They've moved past that. Now it's known for Chip and Joanna Gaines and their renovated castle and their shopping center or whatever. But more importantly, the Dr. Pepper Museum. The coolest place you've never been and probably never will go. It's shockingly much more than you think it is. We had a blast. All of the old advertisements from the 60s and stuff were hilarious. A lot of sexual innuendo about how Dr. Pepper peps you up. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. But also a lot of weird old ads about how they used to recommend Dr. Pepper between, specifically, the hours of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then again at 4 p.m. So there were all of these old ads that featured this logo of sort of a very minimalistic clock where it would be the 10, the 2, and the 4. And that was all over these advertisements. And we were like, what is that about? It's because they used to heavily advertise hey, did you know that a human, an adult person's blood sugar drops between the hours of 10 to 2 p.m. and then again at 4 p.m.? So that's when you should have your Dr. Pepper. Dubious amount of science there, but fantastic ad campaign. Very interesting stuff. We're talking about marketing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a good topic. Good thing out there. Anybody got some good
So
marketing
don't
tips
cut
for a
that.
podcast?
That was some good stuff. Leave that in.
Okay, I'll have to go back and listen to it
I was telling a
later.
riveting story about the Docky Pepper Museum.
Oh man, I want to go there. I've never been
should.
there. I love Dr. Pepper. I drink too many Dr. Peppers, but you know what? I haven't been to the Dr. Pepper Museum.
You can get
go.
a customized Dr. Pepper float at the Docky Pepper
Tell me
Museum, and they have flavors that they don't sell in stores. You gotta go, man.
Well, this is groundbreaking information.
Groundbreaking news, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so don't cut that part that I put in.
All right, it'll stay in there. But
Yeah.
hey, another quick announcement before we jump into the episode and everything. This is episode 299. So our next one will be 300, which is crazy. I was talking about it with Sam the other day, and I was just like, I never would have guessed.
I also can't believe, I kind of thought that we were at 295.
Yeah.
Because whenever I listen or watch the episodes on my own time afterwards, I never look at the title. I just breeze right past that. I'm like, I vaguely know what we talked about. I don't need the title. So I had no idea that we were on this day recording 299.
We're
That's
here
shocking.
on the verge, the eve of episode
Of our
300.
300th birthday.
I know.
Sort
it's
of.
crazy. It's crazy.
What's it called? Because an octogenarian is when you make it to 100.
Yes.
What's it when you make it to 300?
Troctogenarian? I have no idea.
I was trying to figure out how I could work a This
Triple
is
centennial-
Sparta
centennial?
joke into there.
Man, I actually just watched 300 last night
Pretty gay, right?
in the best way.
Pretty homoerotic.
I was just like, Gerard Butler and all of these dudes can fucking get it. God damn, can they get it?
Oh man, Xerxes is my bias.
Rodrigo
In-
Santoro.
In this
Man.
house, we stand Xerxes.
Absolutely. Because, okay, have you seen Love Actually?
No.
Okay, he's in that.
I know you love that movie.
Yes, I do. A great movie and a complete polar
Wait,
opposite.
he's Xerxes? Okay, now I have to see it.
He is in it.
Yeah, it's a good thing you
Look it
led
up.
with that.
Look it up.
Oh my
Carl?
God.
Love Actually.
Is it? Oh, okay. Carl with a K or a C?
Ooh, good question, but I bet either one will get you there.
Carl Love Actually. It's with a K. Wow. How?
Look at him in that movie.
Oh damn. That's just a pretty fine man.
Yes, he is.
Hot
But
shit.
like, looks so
Oh my
much
God,
different from
he's
Xerxes.
so young.
Yeah. Well, that movie's
He's
like 2001.
A baby
Although
in this.
300 was 2007.
This one, like this face shot, what's it called? Headshot.
Yeah.
I can see it there.
Yeah.
Like if you took away the hair, obviously, and the beard, it'd be like, okay, yes, that's Xerxes.
Yeah.
But to my previous point, if I had been a Spartan and I had seen Xerxes roll up into my hometown, I would have been like, yeah, I'm all about this. I'm on board. I'll join your empire, your cult.
empire.
Not really
Probably
sure
both
what
a
he
little
was
bit.
about there. But yeah, I want to be his human stairs.
But no, yeah, I don't even know how long it had been since
Oh,
I'd watched
boy.
300. That I had that little bit of attention headache last night, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to lay
What
low.
a movie to choose for attention headache.
You know, I just
remedy.
was trying to like just chill and be still, and I was like, I haven't watched this one in a really long time, and that movie fucking rocks. It's so good.
I don't think I've seen it since the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
I really should rewatch it.
I know people give Zack Snyder a lot of shit, and I know it's not historically accurate in any way, shape, or form because it's based off the graphic
cares?
novel. But the like look and art style of that movie is 10 out of 10. It's so good. And then the sculpt of those bods and like throwing her in the mix too, Lena Headey as Queen Gorgo, throwing her in there too.
Yes.
Stunning as well.
She was stunning. Yeah.
It's a good movie. So go watch 300 in preparation for episode 300 of Team Chat Podcast. But all
That's
that to
everybody's-
say,
oh, should we dress up like characters from 300? We'll just be on the show, tits out. We will
I'm
get
down.
instantly
Oh my
kicked
God.
off of YouTube.
I got some swords we can use or
Yeah,
something.
he
You know, it's no big
does.
deal. We got this
We
covered.
just got to figure out how to make the tiniest of leather briefs, and we'll be good to go.
I actually have like a little
man.
not Spartan at all, but like a little leather
Oh,
chest
like
piece
the
thing.
swordy heart. Oh,
No, like
chest
armor
piece.
thing that I made for an old like school
They wore chest
presentation thing.
pieces?
No, but
Oh,
it was like
okay.
a more Roman gladiator
All we need
style.
are 2 red sheets for capes,
And
and,
we're-
then
and we're
some
done.
tiny little leather boots, and we'll be good to go. We will have to airbrush on abs.
Yes, no,
Yeah, no.
we are sadly nowhere near the physical state of the men in 300
It will take
Spartans.
us 300 years to get to that level,
Yeah.
and I just don't think we'll make it
No,
that far.
I don't think we will at all.
But yeah, let us know in the Discord if you want to see that on episode 300, or if you're like, please keep those clothes on. We are not
For our
interested.
sake, probably that's the choice they want. But hey, all that to say,
Oh boy.
we're going to take a little bit of time to finalize our planning for episode 300, or what we're going to do to celebrate. Have been some stuff going on in life lately that's made a little, haven't been able to give as much time to it as we'd like to prepare for it. So we might be taking a little bit of a break. We're not really sure what we're going to do. We might go ahead and do episode 300 and then do like a stream day another day to like celebrate. We don't know. We'll figure it out and we'll let you all know when we do. But just wanted to go ahead and give you a little heads up in advance. But now finally to the main topic of the day. Speaking of threes, let's talk about Baldur's Gate 3.
I thought you were going to say, speaking of hotties,
I mean, yes,
Por
that
que
would,
no los dos.
that would fit as well into this topic. But yes, we
Baldur's
have
Gate
begun
3.
to play Baldur's Gate 3. When will we finish Baldur's Gate 3? Who the hell knows?
It's supposedly not a super long game,
Really?
but I heard that it was like 60-ish hours.
Oh. I
For
heard,
your first playthrough.
okay. Yeah, see, I heard like in the hundreds of hours.
Oh, you
but-
did?
Oh, God. We have wildly different. Although I will say, I'm not like no. There's no way that I'm anywhere into like close to getting it. I feel like they're like pulling my leg with where the story's going right now in my
How far have
playthrough.
you made it?
I'm like, well, I know some of my hours because I'm playing. We're both playing single player games, right?
Yes, correct.
And we're playing a co-op game with some
With
friends.
four.
With
the
four.
full
party,
squad.
which was an experience. We did our first session of that the other night, and it was so fun.
That was actually the first time that I had ever, like, I downloaded, first of all, downloading Baldur's Gate 3 on my,
I should have had you just bring it over here.
you really
to
should
download
have,
it.
because, I mean, I'm not sure that it would have made much of a difference. I think it was more based on my laptop than anything else.
Yeah.
But it took, I think I purchased it from Steam around 2 p.m. that day, and I was like, this will be plenty of time. It was down to the
No.
wire. I was like, I'm not
125
sure it's going to
gigs.
download in time.
It is a beast
It is
of
a
a game.
beefy game. So be forewarned, one of my friend of the show, Snooty Boots,
Mm-hmm.
he got on the Discord with me to like run through my laptop's specs,
Yeah.
just to be like, can my laptop even run this game? And it can, but like when you boot it up, the fan. Oh,
Was it screaming?
It's like a jet engine just blasting into space. You're like, I'm not sure it's going to live. Luckily, I have one of those nice mesh back laptop stands, so it
Yeah.
gets plenty of circulation, but it's to the point where I'm like, on days we play Baldur's Gate 3, I think I'm going to have to really crank the AC to help keep the room cold.
You just get a little. You just need to get a little like desk fan and just have that like pointed
Yeah,
under
I just
or
need to get
something,
something on it.
just
But
to give it a little bit of extra kick.
even that being said, my laptop, which is about 3 or 4 years old, still has pretty strong specs. It's like an Acer Nitro something gaming laptop.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's perfectly serviceable, runs just fine, but it do struggle a little bit
Yeah.
with some of the fine edges of the game. Mostly the cutscenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I noticed a little bit of stuttering in some of the cutscenes, and I'm pretty sure that was my laptop, not the game.
Yeah, I have not experienced stuttering, but I know I
That's
run it
what
on
I'm
my
saying.
on my big PC. So yeah, so the game does run really, really well. But in case you don't know, Baldur's Gate 3 just came out like a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Ha! We did this on purpose.
Man, we really did.
Yeah.
This is working out really well for
Working
us.
out, everything's coming up threes.
But it was developed by and published by Larian Studios, who's done other great RPGs like Divinity Original Sin, which I've only like dabbled in a little bit.
I've never played Divinity Original Sin, but I have heard so many people like low key talk about it
Yeah.
as being a great game.
I
and every
almost,
time I
like-
hear it, I'm like, maybe I'll give it a try, and then
Yeah.
I instantly forget it.
I almost played it, started playing it because I already had it instead of Baldur's Gate 3 to see if that would scratch the itch when I first started getting interested. But then I was like, no, I got to go for the real thing.
Yeah.
And that really is kind of the surprising thing about this game because like it started coming out. It had been out for maybe a couple days. Mogan messaged me on Discord and was like, what do you think about Baldur's Gate 3? And I said, funny you should ask because I had zero interest
Yeah.
and just was like, it looks fun, but you know, I don't know if I'll ever get around to playing it. And then I started watching a couple streams of people playing it. Started seeing all the good clips coming out, like especially the one of the people, whatever, spoiler or whatever, but the people kicking the squirrel on accident.
Oh, that's the one that got your attention?
One of them.
Mine
Because
was
it was
the
so
bear sex.
Oh, well, that too. That did come out too. And then the other clips have been going around. Hopefully we're not spoiling too much, but have you seen the one where it's like the Baba, we fought one the other day in the co-op, like the Boba Yang.
Bugbear.
The bugbear.
Yeah.
Banging another like ogre creature in a barn. Have you not seen
What?
that?
No! Oh my god!
It's gonna get good. Obviously, we're just wanting to play this game because it's all horned up, apparently.
So that was kind of the main reason we wanted to play it. But also, we are both. I've played Dungeons and Dragons a couple of times in person and digitally.
I've never done a
Discord
D&D
with
campaign
friends.
at all. So this is my first foray.
I did my first in-person D&D campaign with strangers. It was like a pick-up-and-play event at a local Tribe Comics and Games.
Oh, cool.
Shout out Tribe Comics and
Great
Games
store
in Austin. They do a lot of community events. And so I think before COVID, they used to have like open table D&D on Wednesdays. And I went to my first one of those, I think the first week of March of 2020.
No.
And
terrible timing.
And then the pandemic happened, and I never went
they
back.
shut it down.
Now, in fairness, I believe they have resumed those. So they do all kinds of fun D&D live events. So if you're a person in the Austin, Texas area, and you want to go try out D&D for the first time, and you just want to show up, no knowledge, no skills, have somebody walk you through it, Tribe Comics and Games has got you covered.
Nice.
On select days of the week, and I don't know what their schedule is.
Check them out. They're a cool stop.
yeah.
They're a cool store. They always have a lot of good selection for everything: games, comics, all
Absolutely.
that stuff.
My point being that I had a great time doing it on just that sort of one-stop shop campaign. And then me and my friends did another like just one-off couple hours campaign on Discord. We had a blast. We fought one monster. I think we turned him into bread. I don't remember how. That or we fed him bread to befriend him. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Anyways, fascinating stuff. Love D&D. And my personal favorite podcasts are usually D&D live plays.
Yeah.
So I love that kind of stuff. So I already had a pretty good both first and secondhand foundational knowledge of D&D mechanics. What does this mean? What does that mean? What does AC stand for? It stands for armor class.
I had to figure that. Not Assassin's Creed.
No, it didn't stand for Assassin's Creed. It stands for armor class. And just sort of the flow of how most encounters go.
Right.
Which is honestly one of the hardest parts of getting used to D&D. Isn't necessarily the mechanics themselves. It's understanding everything that is available to you.
Right.
Because truly, Dungeons & Dragons is an exceptionally open-ended experience. One of my old friends described it as, imagine that you can go to a movie or you can be the movie with your friends for triple the amount of hours and have quadruple the amount of fun for free.
I mean,
it's
we played, all four of us, played for like 2 hours or something like that first time. And man, it was... And it was all parts I'd already played before. Well, some of it was stuff I'd already played before.
You were way ahead of me because obviously mine had.
And I was just like, it's still just as fun. Like I see how you can do multiple playthroughs, which is normally something that, like I've said before, I normally don't do that in games. I will go through, play the one time, I might revisit it, and that's even if I loved it. Like I've only replayed The Last of Us once. That's my favorite game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I can already see this one has the pull there to be able to have a lot of fun for a really long time.
Yeah, but let's circle back and start with like foundational knowledge of Baldur's Gate. Back to the topic at hand.
This is all the topic at hand.
Well, that's true. Go ahead, Jared.
But still, this is our first foray into this. Like we said, made and developed by Larian Studios. And well, to be fair, aside from all the horniness of this game represents, it also like really caught my attention that it was getting just ridiculously good scores.
So thanks for bringing us back to the actual topic at hand.
Everything about it was like it's already been declared like one of the highest rated PC games of all time on Metacritic and stuff like that. Like it is putting up some seriously good numbers. And so I was just like, again, we're having another like quasi surprise banger. Maybe people who are in the know about D&D knew this was going to be a banger, but like it's a banger. And I've played probably total just shy of 10 hours, I want to say, between my solo campaign and our multiplayer one. And it sucks me in a way that like I did not expect. It really does feel, I know different games, different series, but it really does evoke a lot of the same same feelings for me as when I first played Dragon Age Origins way back
yes.
when.
I can see that.
And it's just kind of like I feel like it's the RPG experience that I've been like really kind of wanting in this. Like I almost bought Diablo 4, but then I was like, no, skip. Pass.
You know what? Honestly, good skip.
And
good
yeah,
pass.
because like then I wouldn't have got Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
And this is a much, from everything I'm seeing, like a better experience. Diablo 4 still looks fun, not going to lie. But I think for the longevity and the experience that I can have, Baldur's Gate is going to be way better.
And a quick aside on that. We won't dig too much into this because we've rehashed this conversation 1,000 times.
Right.
But Diablo 4 and all of the other Activision Blizzard properties for
Yes.
that matter are, first of all, Diablo 4 is a paid game. It's a full
Right.
price paid game.
Right.
But then it is also chock full of microtransactions. It's
got a battle pass that apparently
It's got
sucks.
a battle pass. It's got a shit-ass battle pass. It's got tons of microtransactions. Obviously, that is not personally our preferred way to play. Whereas
Right.
Baldur's Gate 3, truly, I think one of the most attractive elements of it to the public at large that is largely weary of overextending those super invasive microtransactions and battle passes to death, to death, to death.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 is a full price game with none of those.
Love to see it.
None. There are no microtransactions. It's like the old
You
days,
pay your
guys.
monies and you're done.
You pay. It's like buying a Nintendo game. You just get the game. So it is a full. So sure, it's a full price game.
Right.
It's expensive, but
Yeah.
for that cost, you are guaranteed that you will get free updates to come.
Right.
There might eventually be some paid DLC.
Expansion. I feel like I heard
happy
like
to shell out money.
rumblings of that,
Yeah.
but like I don't think they're super committed to it yet.
But
at
it's
this
kind of
point.
like with other titles similar in that vein. If it's a big, meaty DLC that I feel like is going to extend the life of the game by another 15, 20 hours,
yeah.
even 10 to 20 hours, I will pay for that. Like, that's a model that I can get on board
Right.
with. What I'm not a fan of is the constant drip feed of microtransactions over time.
Yep.
Don't like that. Give me one big chunk all at once for me to decide, do I feel like this is worth engaging in? And if I don't, will my gameplay experience be worse for it?
Right.
And that's the real question, is that if by not engaging with the in-game progression system through monetary means, will your experience suffer? And with Baldur's Gate 3, you don't have to worry about that. Yeah.
And it's been a fantastic experience so far. I know, like you've said, performance-wise, that on your laptop struggling a little bit in some
Mostly
certain
the fan.
areas, mostly the
Mostly the
fan,
fan.
but like still runs pretty good. My machine, like again, no problems, and it doesn't really seem to be that buggy of a game. I will say it did have a very extended early access period where it wasn't like its full launch that you could get in on. So I'm sure they had some good time to work out the kinks there. But that's another thing you love to see. It's not buggy. It's not like broken. I know we have a couple of people we know of who are about to be picking up Starfield, and it's like we talked about that, about like our hesitation with that game of like, it's Bethesda. They don't have a super great track record for that. And so it'll be curious to see if they do with this game, if they're able to rectify that ship and kind of bring that around. But Baldur's Gate 3 so far, well worth the money. And it's not even like you were saying, it's a full price game, but it's only $60 for the base game,
Yeah.
not like $75 is what you're going to be shelling out for the PS5 and Xbox versions. Later on,
Yes.
maybe.
So the PC version is 60.
Yeah.
Yes, gotcha.
I actually don't know if the PS5 and Xbox ones will be more. I would
I
imagine.
suspect that they
Actually,
will be their full price.
I would imagine.
Yeah, I would think that they would
So,
be.
there's
I would
always that to consider.
Yeah. Oh, but
Birdie,
to
you were
that,
just outside. Chill your little wiggle
she
butt.
says, I'm just so
look
excited
at
about
the-
Baldur's
go look
Gate
at the
3.
squirrels.
Will Papa be a druid so that
lay
he
down.
can tame animals?
Calm down. Calm down.
Look
lay
at her
down.
go.
No, I'm not going to be. Well, I guess we can get into that then. I guess if you're familiar with D&D and stuff like that and kind of how it rolls, that
A
was
roll of the
unintentional.
dice.
But you have a lot. It's all about building your character and you like kind of like inhabiting and living as that character in the world.
It
and
is
so
a
far,
role-playing game.
True and true.
You become the character, breathe the character, live the character.
And what's fun, and like I said, it really does play like an old BioWare, like the old Dragon Age games, which I really liked. The combat is different, and with how it handles checks. Obviously, in Baldur's Gate 3, you have it with a 20-sided die roll and different things like that. You don't have that in Dragon Age, but it's still like you can kind of tell because it's all handled for you kind of behind the scenes and everything. But, I love the look of it, the isometric top-down. The map is expansive so far in all the
really
areas
is.
that you go to. Granted, we're still in one of the earlier areas, but there's a lot to do, a lot to explore, and also like how long, I guess, on your, I know we were kind of hurrying a little bit in our co-op game, but in your solo game, how long were you in the character creator?
Oh, pretty
who did you
long.
pick?
Ooh, okay, all good questions. So I picked a drow, which I'm not entirely familiar with all of the different available races
Same,
in
neither am I.
D&D. I gather that drow is like big, mean elf with darkish blue skin. That's all I could kind of gather from that. And they like worship some horrible deity, but there are two factions, right? So there's the faction of drow that worship the horrible deity that loves like pain and suffering and stuff. And then there's the faction that are like, well, okay, guys, let's dial that back a little bit. We want to make some allies outside of here, right? Maybe we should like ease them into that.
Right.
And I was like, no, I want to be the faction that worships the horrible devil person. So I'm a drow that worships whoever my god is. I do not know. I'm also a cleric because we have in our team we have a bard, a cleric, a barbarian, and a fighter and a fighter.
And a fighter.
So I was like, we're gonna need some healing. Which for now, gotta be honest, I'm a pretty shit ass healer. Not helping.
You straight up just
much.
killed me once.
I accidentally killed Jared because I cast one of my offensive spells at his body, and then later in another separate, I was getting the hang of the mechanics. Okay,
There is a
It
lot
was
to learn
all
with it. Like,
very
there's a lot of
overwhelming.
different things learning this, how all the things and powers combine.
Jared and I were together on the map, point blank range. We were standing right next to each
Yeah.
other, and Jared was gravely wounded, and I had full health, and I was like, "Don't worry, Jared, I can heal you." So I tried to heal him and clicked on myself. And wasted my spell slot, and after that, I was out of spell slots.
Oh, man,
so I
it's-
couldn't heal him.
It's so good.
Oh boy,
Let's see. Who did,
Jared really took a beating from me specifically.
but it was. I mean, it's all. It was so. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
so much fun how much it does vary from a single player experience to a multiplayer experience. You know, granted, you're not like in every conversation in the multiplayer one because anybody can activate a conversation with an NPC in multiplayer, whereas obviously in single player, you're the only one who can.
Which that was pretty mind-blowing to me. So
Yeah.
I kind of want to explain that a little bit more in depth to people that maybe aren't super involved with D&D and maybe don't know what that means. So there are all kinds of NPCs in Baldur's Gate 3 that you can interact with, some of whom are romanceable, eyebrow
I'm already trying my best with anybody I can.
Just anybody. I'm not
I'm
picking
just,
it.
you know, putting out
Yeah,
feelers.
just seeing who's out. Just swiping. What's the good one when you swipe on Tinder or whatever?
I have no idea, right?
Sure, we'll assume that swiping right is good. Swiping right on everybody. Everybody gets a pass. And the way that it works in live play Dungeons and Dragons is that no character is bound to any others. Like if your crewmates are like, "Hey, we want to go do this," and you're like, "My character isn't a fan of that.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go to the bakery and stuff my face with croissants." You can do that.
sounds delicious.
And the dungeon master just has to be like, "Okay, got to split out these two paths because one of you is going to the bakery and the others are going to go progress the plot."
Right.
So in Baldur's Gate 3, it's actually pretty similar to that, and I guess I wasn't really expecting it. I was sort of expecting the multiplayer experience to be a little bit more like on rails, basically.
Yeah, a little more
For
linear.
it to be, a little bit more linear, a little bit more directed. But no, they actually did a pretty good job of replicating that sense of freedom from your compatriots in that one of you can go to any NPC and start that dialogue. You
Yeah.
can start the dialogue, you can start cutscenes, and then if your crewmates want to join you, they have to physically go to you and also click to interact with that NPC, which was mind-blowing to me. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? And then this blew my mind. So when you're talking to NPCs, they have like, all of these response dialogue options that you can give to the NPCs.
Yeah.
And they all sort of skew in a certain, what's it called, like moral direction? Or what's it? Alignment. They all
Yes.
sort of skew in a different alignment. Like some of the responses will be like, "You're a nice person. You're trying to get on their good side."
Right.
Other replies will be like, "Bitch, I'm gonna fucking fight you right now."
I just had one because I'm a barbarian in single player that was just like, "Stop fighting or I'll bash both your skulls together."
So it's like that, where there's all these different types of responses that you can give, and your teammates can come in and they can, at least if you're playing on PC, and I assume it will work similarly for console people.
Yeah, it's we keep referencing console and PS5, Xbox versions. Those are not out yet.
No,
they're
they're
coming
not.
out in like September, September 6th, maybe I want to
Yeah,
say.
they're coming out a
so
little bit later.
soon, and also Mac. It will be available on Mac as well.
Yeah, point for Mac.
Point for Mac. Look at that.
But so your compatriots, whoever started the dialogue option, they have the final say. They can actually click on which ones they want to progress in. Then no one else really has an ability to stop them from doing something. But what you do have the ability to do is suggest, basically vote for which dialogue option you want to put forward. And when you do it on PC, your little Steam icon comes up right next to the option that you chose, so that you can see which ones you picked, which ones your other crewmates picked, and you all have different assigned colors, which I just thought was fantastic. I was like, this makes it feel so much more collaborative than just watching what the other person does if they happen to get to the NPC first. It just makes it feel so much more like we're all in this together. You know?
It really does. But the other part of it too is because while you still can kind of be like, to use your example, I'm running off to the bakery. That can be happening while you're in a conversation. One of your other party members players can be running around doing stuff, and so in these like cinematics you can sometimes see the person
just
running around behind you and
background.
like looking at things, where they'll like run and just stand there, then just like turn and look and like go in a different direction because you can still see it, and you're having this very serious conversation with an NPC. I think it's just a very unintentionally comedic touch.
But it also makes things a little bit more practical too, because let's say that maybe somebody on your team has already played a little bit farther in the single player mode and they know a little bit more about the map. That means that whoever they're with can go talk to the NPCs while they're going around the map getting supplies, killing off little minor enemies, assuming they're able to do it on their own, which sometimes you're not. But if you were like OP, right? Yeah. So it's just really opens up the floor to a lot of different options for everyone involved, which, like I said, I had no real idea of how they would be able to replicate that in an online multiplayer video game setting, and I'm really pleased with what they settled on. I think it's a really good middle ground.
Yeah, it is really good, and I really enjoy that a lot. I didn't actually say who I am. In my single player one, I am a half orc barbarian. Decided to kind of go that
a hork, if you will.
Yes, exactly. So I've been playing as that. And yeah, I am farther in that campaign than we are in our multiplayer one. Cleared out a couple of the first few areas and stuff like that. I'm actually in the town that we got to at the end of our co-op one. I did a few other things.
Past the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did a few other things in the area, recruited a few of the party members that you can find and that kind of stuff. But then I'm actually now in that town and exploring it a little more.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so it's fun. And then in my multiplayer game with Mogan, I am playing as a dragonborn bard.
Which your character arguably is the coolest.
I love it. It's so cool because like the bard clothes are so fancy and bright and colorful and looks so fun on my lizard boy. And so it's been very fun. And I've never and most times when you play like these, I've never played a bard character in a role-playing game before, so I wanted to do something completely different because normally, like I did in my single-player game, I just go right for the barbarian or the fighter. So I wanted to kind of mix it up. I can't remember what I chose as my subclass, though. I kind of want to say criminal. I think I chose like criminal bard or something like that, so I can kind of have some good like sleight of hand.
Fun.
Maybe be a little mix of a rogue and my lock picking and stuff like that. But
I picked cleric and guild artisan, so I've got like persuasion and maybe insight, something like that. I don't remember what the other one was. But I did want to point out, Jared was hardcore carrying our asses in that first little bit of the game because you had obviously already done some of it. So not only did you have the lay of the land better, but you also had more of the mechanics down. For a lot of the rest of us, it was like our first real time trying to play as a group.
Well, and like I'd only played like 2 hours maybe before I like played with y'all, so like I wasn't that far ahead, but I had already gone through the baby steps of learning some of it. The biggest one is like the disengage to leave a fight. I'm not used to that mechanic at all, and I kept getting slapped by those enemies.
Those attacks of opportunity.
Yeah,
you can't give them an opening.
No,
but you're also the only character we realized too late that is ranged. I've got a couple when I start building up more of my white cleric magic, I'll have more range spells. But for now, my range is bad.
But I feel like we other characters. Correct me if I'm wrong. If someone out there knows more than us, but like I feel like other characters can use a ranged weapon. I just happen to find one first.
Oh, Oh, that's true.
Because
You
I
got the
have like a
crossbow.
scimitar as well or something like that, but I have a crossbow that I'm using.
Oh, okay. That does remind me. I think my character has proficiency in like scimitars, I think rapiers,
Yeah.
and then maybe light crossbows or something
Okay,
like
so
that.
yeah, so we could probably get away
Okay,
with it.
Gotcha.
But so where I'm at, it's the first town that you meet. So I've been like working and messing around with like interacting with vendors and stuff like that, which is really cool because you can either just do straight up, I'm going to give you gold for this. For these items, or you can even barter where you like
Try
say
to
from
sleep with them.
maybe if you can like drive a good enough bargain, maybe. But you can like see what's in their inventory, you pick it, put it in like, here's what I want, then you'd like drop all items, money, any combination of the things you have to equal the value. And the better you treat vendors, the better impression they have of you, so the better prices you'll get.
Good
so
to
if you like find a
know.
good vendor who like you like, want to really become buddy with, you might start getting some really good prices from their wares.
Maybe you like casually slip one of your sleeves off your shoulder, just give them a little show.
Oh man, whatever form of payment you want, it's D&D.
Everybody likes discounts, right? Discounts and dragons.
Perfect name. So it's been a lot of fun figuring out all the different mechanics. The combat, and like kind of the like over understanding how all this different stuff worked did take a minute and especially like understanding, like I realized in my first plays, I did, or in the single player game, I was just like using my cleric. I was using her and just like using her spells willy nilly, not realizing then you have to do a short rest.
Oh, your little helper.
No. When you're playing single player, you can control all four of your party members, and so like I was using her spells to like protect me, or like my main character if I like rushed in because I was barbarian, and then or like doing whatever, but not realizing that some of those spells have a cooldown that you can only like fix by doing a short rest, and then you can only do 2 short rests in a day before you have to take a long rest, and then to do a long rest you have to have camp supplies.
You have to go to a campfire.
So you have to
very
like,
Dark Souls,
but you have to find like loot and everything, food and things to build up these camp
you
supplies.
need supplies. It's very realistic in that way.
And so like all these things I was not expecting adds a little bit more extra, and I was already like, man, I already feel like I'm going to every single container and every single barrel and trying to see what's in it.
Fish.
I'm going to do
Lots
it
of fish.
even more now because like I have to. I haven't really gotten much into the alchemy stuff yet.
Ooh, me neither. I really
I've started
haven't
like
touched on
trying to.
that
I think I might have crafted a health potion, and I think that's really it.
I just remember the tutorial box coming up of like trying to tell me about the crafting system, the alchemy system, and we were in online multiplayer. So I was like, no
time.
That is a battle for another day. I am not going to bother with that right now.
I'll figure this out on my own.
So I closed straight out of it.
One question for you. I don't know if you've had a chance to really mess around with it too much, but as I've learned in learning more about Baldur's Gate, it's a point of contention. If a result happens that you're not happy with, do you go back?
No. What? No.
I was just asking.
I would only go back if I died. And really, I guess if I were going to be super hardcore about it, there's part of me that wants to take the super traditional D&D approach, which is when your character dies,
you start over.
You make a new one. You start over. But I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be that hardcore about it. Probably not.
Probably not either. And I have done it. I will say, gone back on a save, not for any like major story moments or anything like that, but especially like in the first bits because I was like learning D&D mechanics and being like, oh wait, no, what? How do I do this?
Yeah,
oh, this doesn't work here.
Take a whoopsies.
It was a whoopsies mulligan on a couple of those things.
Gotcha.
And so like that's kind of what I did. But no, if main stuff, I even like turned off that one setting like when we started doing our multiplayer playthrough. Baldur's Gate has in this one a setting called Karmic Dice, where it's like if you roll and you mess up and you fail like multiple times in a row or more often than not, it will throw you a bone and give you a good roll every once in a while. You can turn that off though, on and off at any time. And if you turn it off, then it's like straight RNG like it would be you're playing it at the tabletop. Yeah. The dice roll as they roll.
Yes.
And I failed like the first 5 things in a row. And I didn't go back and like fix anything. I was just like, this is the game. But I wanted to just understand and be like, I feel like I didn't do this right or this check right or understanding how all the different things work. So I kind of like, since it was the opening area, I kind of like messed around with it then just to like kind of be like, I want to see what how this works.
I can understand that because that's you're less familiar with D&D.
Right.
I'm more familiar with it.
But with
so
major story moments and everything like that,
yes.
no, I'm rolling. The dice will roll how the dice roll.
That's understandable. And then for anybody that's just super out of the water on Dungeons & Dragons, each character has base stats. And those stats are in things like strength, dexterity, charisma.
Intelligence?
All the intelligence, all those other fucking ones I don't care about. So the basic stuff. Basically, what qualities does your character have that could potentially serve them in the broader world?
Right.
So if you have really high intelligence, you're maybe a really good magic caster, or you can do intelligence checks better when somebody's like, I think you don't know what you're talking about. I need you to prove it or something like that. If you have really high intelligence, your character might just know that kind of information and you can pass the checks. So when we say, are you passing these checks? What you need to be visualizing in your head is that you've rolled a 20-sided die. And then let's say that I have a +2 to charisma because I'm a cleric.
Right.
Well, if I roll a 10, but I needed a 12 to pass that check, lucky me because I've got a +2 to charisma, so that 10 becomes a 12. But if, let's say, I am butt ass at strength and the check is, can you break down this door? And I roll a 10, and again, the check is a 10. Ooh, actually, that's a 9 now because I have a -1 to strength. So all of the checks that you have in the game are based on your character's individual stats, whether or not you pass that check, plus the roll of the dice.
Right.
Plus any assistance that your comrades might be able to give you, like you as the bard.
I can do the bardic inspiration.
Yeah,
I
the
believe
bard
is what
has a
it's called.
mechanic called bardic inspiration where you can kind of give your teammates a +X to their roll to make them more likely to pass the
+2 right now with what I have.
Oh, it's a +2?
For-
I wasn't
for-
sure
for
if
right
it
now.
was
I don't know if it'll,
straight
like-
up and down +2 or if it was based on like a D4 or a D3.
It might actually be based on a D4.
Oh, okay. That
I think
makes
it is
sense.
based on a D4.
A lot of the clerics' rolls are based on D4.
See, and I had to understand. I had to learn that lingo. I kept saying it'll give you +1 D4, and I was like,
So, for anybody else that
What this
doesn't know, a +1 D4 means that you are theoretically rolling a 4-sided dice.
Right.
Because Dungeons and Dragons is full of different sided dice. The 20-sided one is the main one, but then for a lot of your other spells and checks, you might roll a 3-sided or a 4-sided or I think a 10-sided dice. There might be a couple of others that I'm forgetting, but there's all kinds of dice. People have whole bags just for their
Coin
dice.
purses of dice.
Coin purses of dice. And then really hardcore people bring their own little suede padded boxes to roll the dice in to protect
You don't
the
wanna
dice.
scratch 'em and dent
You
'em
don't
and
want to
ding 'em.
scratch your fancy dice,
No,
do you?
absolutely not.
Which I totally understand. And if I had endless money, I would totally have a custom leather dice bag full of my custom enameled dice
Right.
that weigh 50 pounds in the bag. And then I would have my fancy little box and I'd be like, yes, showy, fancy game of D&D. And I would take any opportunity to bust them out.
it's like when we first started playing Magic together, and I bought a set of fancy +1, -1 counters. I was like, ooh.
Which those things come in handy
do.
when
They're
we
very
play.
nice.
I'm glad you have those.
But no, I'd be the same way. Give myself some fancy die. Maybe I
Anyways.
need to get my own fancy die now. That'd be fun.
You do.
Some
I
Team Chat
digress.
die.
That is a rough explanation of how D&D mechanics and checks work.
And so it's, different implementations of that throughout the whole game. Basically, every decision you make will be hit with some form of checks and balance. And so, it's a very deep RPG experience. There is a lot to do. I spent I think I played for a couple hours yesterday trying to get a few more hours in, and I spent a good chunk of that time, maybe half that time, in the town talking to various vendors. It can be and granted, I'm going for the full experience of trying to figure out and see and explore as much as I can.
Of course.
But yeah, I was like, man, you can get lost in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what I also was kind of wanting too. A world to kind of get lost in.
Yes, I agree with that. And really, so not only a world to get lost in, but I just feel like Baldur's Gate 3 feels like an old school video game.
Yes,
to
it
me.
does.
I mean,
That's what I mean with the Dragon Age.
yeah,
feeling of nostalgia.
that's such a good comparison because not including the microtransactions, technically those have been around for quite a while. There's just some quality to Baldur's Gate 3 that just, if it weren't for the really good graphics, you might sit there and go, this was made in 1996.
Yeah. In a good way.
In a good way. In the best way.
Yeah.
It just has something about it that feels very nostalgic, but it's a brand new, shiny game.
Yeah.
And I haven't quite nailed down what that quality is yet.
And I think
I just
that's-
get that gut reaction to it.
Yeah, and I think that's what my feeling is to it too. It just feels familiar.
Yeah, something about it feels really familiar, even though neither of us played.
Yeah.
What
And I
we
haven't played
assume
any
is
of the
Baldur's
previous-
Gate 1 and 2.
Yeah, no, I didn't play either
Yeah.
of those either.
No.
And I even had a friend who did play 2, I want to say, or maybe it was 1. I don't remember the timeline. But and me being like, oh, this looks fun. What is it? And him kind of explaining to me, I was a lot younger at the time, and I was like, no, that doesn't sound for me.
That sounds stupid.
That sounds stupid.
No,
I
thank
don't want
you.
to play that. It sounds too intense and too slow. But now 33-year-old Jared is like, hell yeah, sign me up. This is great.
This is fantastic.
And this is obviously our first impressions. We're very, very early on. Like I said, less than 10 hours for me into this still, but I'm gonna be putting it so much more time into it, and just see. And this is one too that I don't even mind like seeing stuff out of order and like seeing a TikTok videos doing different things, as long as it's not like story stuff. But if it's like, hey, check out this crazy combo, like the big thing that I've been seeing now, and I think somebody brought up in our Discord earlier about using the owlbear from the top, who comes like slamming down to do some massive combos, or even in the opening area where I was saying that I'd seen that thing when the 2 tieflings come in at the end when you're fighting when you're fighting the captain of the tieflings on the nautiloid.
Right.
And I was trying to say, like, you can kill that guy and get a sword, but you have to like block off this. And I'd seen that seen that on a video. So it's like, since I'm still so new to the world of it and how it operates, I'm very much like, I don't really care. Like, give me it all, because I want to like soak this up and make this worth it.
And even if you do get exposed to maybe what could be considered spoilers out in the wild on the TikToks, on the YouTube, so you get the idea. There's no guarantee that your playthrough will wind up like their playthrough.
Right.
You don't know what stats they had. I mean, you might, depending on their character class and how much you know about them. But there's no guarantee that you will pass the checks or do the right dialogue options in long succession. Basically, when we talk about the romanceable NPCs, they all have like affinities.
Yeah.
And you have to take certain actions to grow that relationship with them in a positive or negative direction. So who knows whether or not you did that same combination of effects to get blank. So there's a ton of open-endedness in terms of how your playthrough can turn out in comparison to your friends and in comparison to future playthroughs that you might do.
I feel like I heard somewhere that there's like potentially thousands of like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thousands of bears out there that have sex.
Just ready for the banging.
Just ready for those bears. Anyways.
Anyway, it just seems like, I know that, this is in terms of like talking about the story and all that stuff. Obviously, we're just so early on. There's really no point to go into it at this point. We'll say that for a review in progress update at some point, because who the hell knows how long.
I realize we actually haven't talked about at all the premise of the game's plot,
because
which
it's
we
like,
will briefly mention, super briefly. So the game opens with a beautiful cutscene.
Great cutscene.
Just a gorgeous cutscene of these Cthulhu-like creatures called mind flayers. They're just Cthulhus, guys. They're just Cthulhus, but they didn't want to use the word Cthulhus.
Can't say it.
Yeah, little Cthulhus, not the big ones. Slim, sexy ones, kind of.
Oh, no.
Heavens to Betsy. But these mind flayers are basically trying to take over all of the other humanoids by like sucking them up into their big Nautilus ships and then putting, this part really grossed me out, putting these horrible little like leech-like creatures into their eyes that then burrow into their brains to like mind control them because the mind flayers are all about mind control, and it's like, I don't love that at all.
Yeah.
So the point is, there's a big bad up in the sky. They come down, they abduct people, they put little mind flayer seeds into their brains, and then presumably bad shit's going to happen because of that. So your character's motivation is A, you got to figure out how to get that tadpole out of your brain, because that's some bad news.
It's not welcome.
Bad news bears. And then B, look at all these sexy people just laying around. So many opportunities. So lots of motivations to get you started on the path.
You got to get healthy.
You got to get healthy. Got to get healthy real quick so you can get out there.
But I do appreciate that about the story. There's not setup.
No.
Like, it literally just starts, you're a captive on this ship, you get the bug put in you, and then you crash the ship and your adventure begins. And there's like no, like, 500 years ago, there was the great tale of mind flayers.
No, there wasn't.
None of that. There's no like intro.
No
lead up to it at
narrator.
all.
They
It
just launch
starts.
you straight into it.
And so it's just really kind of fun that it really does like give you no preconceived notions of what to expect. You're just thrown into this world to figure it out. And I can't wait to see
Yeah.
what comes next.
I
It's
can't
gonna
wait
be
to
so
see
good.
both how our single player campaigns wind up going. And honestly, I'm more invested in our multiplayer campaign.
Same. I feel like that's going to be chaotic, and I'm going to
We
love
have
it.
some very silly characters on
do.
board.
It's so good.
Snooty Boots is one of the ones that we're playing with. He attempted to make his best effort at Ronald McDonald.
Slightly Thing of Nightmares.
He's horrifying.
but so funny in the
So
cutscenes.
funny. And then Bro Mogan made it probably an equally horrifying, I think, gnome barbarian.
Yes.
Just terrible. I don't remember whatever horrible name he picked, but his names are always hilarious.
It was very funny.
So
What's my? Oh yeah, you gave me the best name for mine.
Oh yeah, he's a bard, so he's Barty McFly.
So good.
I'm sure other people thought of that, but I didn't cop that name from anybody else.
You suggested, and I was like, yes,
Yes,
thank you,
Barney
100%. That's my name. I'm gonna try to live
And then
up to
we've
the
just got
shenanigans.
Ronald in the team. Oh, Ron.
Oh man. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, so if you have also picked up Baldur's Gate 3 and are going through a campaign, I know
And
we've had
we
some
know a
good.
few of you are.
We need to make a channel. I don't know why we haven't made a channel on the Discord, but
Oh
we'll
my
make
God,
a channel
we
for the
should.
Discord.
Okay, yes.
So we can, control all of our Baldur's Gate 3 play in there because I know, quite a few people are playing
Yeah.
it and everything. But if you have been playing it, let us know how your
Tell us
playthrough's
your
been
character.
going. Tell us your character.
Put those
it into
screenshots
photo
in
mode.
there,
Let us
yeah.
see what you're working with. You know what I mean? And with your characters, and then, and just what. Your experience with the game has been so far. So,
Ooh, quick aside.
Yeah.
We are obviously not that far yet. I have heard that Act 3 mechanically is a little rough.
okay.
I've heard that it's
They just
kind
put
of,
out a huge patch. I
yeah,
wonder
so
if
maybe
it
the patch addressed
maybe that affects
I'm not
some of that
sure.
stuff.
I had just heard rumblings that Act 3 was rougher around the edges than Acts 1 and 2. So maybe they fixed that. There were some rumors that maybe they kind of rushed it out to get it out ahead of Starfield,
Yeah.
which can't blame them, right? Like 2 giant RPGs coming out in a short window of time like that. Baldur's Gate 3 totally would have been crushed by Starfield.
Oh, for sure.
So I don't blame them for doing it. Also, they're not a giant AAA studio like so many of the other broken ass Starfields out there are definitely going to be. So
We
it's
don't know
like,
if it's broken yet.
yeah, we don't
We're
know if it's
just
broken yet.
assuming.
We're just assuming, based on experience, mind you. But to put that out there, it's not a perfect game right now. Who knows if the patch fixed it? We will not figure that out until we
For
are much
a
farther.
long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know how your playthrough's been going. Send us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. Join us on the Discord. Talk about it with us there in the soon-to-be-created Baldur's Gate 3 channel. And yeah, we'll keep you updated as well as our playthrough progresses. Once again, everybody, reminder again, we're going to be probably taking a couple weeks off as we figure out what we're doing for episode 300, but we will keep you updated as we have them. But until then, everybody, thanks for joining us. This has been a fun first impressions of Baldur's Gate 3, and we'll see you all next time.